talk about prisoners of conscience in industrial scale, at scale, and in 60 to 90,000 a year of these are parts are organ harvested. So that must be from individuals. Are these prisoners of conscience principally Falun Gong? Do they use this as they target Falun Gong, the spiritual practice, because of this?
That's a great question. So when you look at the growth of the organ industry in China, and keep in mind, there's no organ registry, right? They're basically from what we know, they were using people that were, quote unquote, disposable people. Actually, one of the earliest accounts of this organ harvesting happening from a prisoner is by a Uyghur surgeon, who I've spoken with. Now, basically, it's the China Tribunal that came up with this 60 to 90,000. That's kind of where it got to. But at the beginning, if you chart the persecution of Falun Gong beginning in 1999, that's exactly when the whole organ industry takes off stratospherically in exponential growth from basically 1999
was it some
to 2000.
Twisted individual that said we can monetize these people, and in doing it terrorize them so much that they'll give up the spiritual practice?
So we don't know who that is. I have some theories about it actually myself, but we don't have any definitive evidence. We do know that in the Communist Party mentality and approach, if you are deemed an enemy of the state, if you are deemed, you basically become disposable. I mean, they kind of see people in general as disposable, but there's an extra level of contempt. And that's why there was this huge propaganda campaign that was launched. I mean, they said these people eat their children, they burn themselves alive, all sorts of really extreme things, because you had a group that was incredibly popular in the 90s. I mean, to the 70 to 100 million people were practicing this in China.
In mainland
China, per government estimate, right?
No, I remember
through the 90s,
I remember seeing it in Hong Kong in the mid 90s, I guess it was. And I asked somebody what it was, and they said it's a spiritual practice related to Buddhism, and it had this physical, I saw people out there practicing. And he's told me I was in Hong Kong, just coming to Star Forever. He says, well, it's all over the mainland. And I was like, this is all over the mainland? He goes, yeah, it's everywhere. It's huge. And I did make the comment at the time. I said, well, I don't know how long this is going to go, because those are guys that don't like people having associations that are not related to the Communist Party.
100%. And there's this other...
Is that what happened? It exploded so much?
It exploded, but here's the really interesting thing. And I think this is the real reason why the persecution became so heavy on this particular group. I'll add this. It took me maybe 15 years of looking at this to actually kind of have this realization. Yes, there were more Falun Gong practitioners than the Communist Party, and it's a very jealous, organization. It doesn't like things bigger than it.
The Communist Party is only about 90,000 individuals.
Back in the time, I think if I recall, it was about 60,000, and there was 70 to 100 or 70. Yeah. But anyway, there was also this jealousy of Jiang Zemin, because Li Hongzhi, who was the founder of Falun Gong, he had kind of had the love of the people. It was generally known that Falun Gong practitioners are healthy in moral truthfulness, compassion, forbearance. People are living by these principles and are very serious about it. And here's the really interesting part. Li Hongzhi wrote voluminous teachings. Okay, he's called the master, the teacher. Some people don't like the word master. But there aren't a lot of rules. Okay, voluminous teachings, but not a lot of rules. One of them is you can't enrich yourself from it. I mean, I'll tell you, these are my interpretation of what the rules of these. Something every Falun Gong practitioner would agree to. Another one is, there's no worship of the master or the teacher. Another one is you never coerce someone to do it, right? Another one is, let's say you're a really great Falun Gong practitioner. You practice truthfulness, compassion, forbearance really well, okay? I can't emulate you. I can't say you're my great model of a Falun Gong practitioner. I have to understand the teachings and live them myself. And that's actually what defines me. There's no roster. There's no houses of worship or anything of this nature. None of this. It's what defines you as a Falun Gong practitioner is you live the teachings. So what struck me, Steve, it was like, this is an unbelievable level of agency. Like basically 70 to 100 million Chinese, in the communist system, which kind of demands you be kind of an automaton of the system, right, are suddenly exercising and believing incredible agency, right? Compared to any other, there's nothing keeping you in being a Falun Gong practitioner, even in, religions where there's no hierarchy. Another one rule would be there's no hierarchy. It's your internal level that matters. There's no one to tell you what to do.
In the teaching itself, though, Could you take on Falun Gong and then also be a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
I mean, there were many people in that situation.
There were many people in the Chinese Communist that took up the spiritual practice.
Absolutely. I remember it was being actually taught. There's examples. I know someone who was in one of the headquarters in Beijing who was learning it because someone was teaching it. I mean, this was this is the other part about this movement, right? It was all the way from the migrant.
No wonder they try to shut you guys down.
Well, migrant field worker all the way up to the high level Communist Party official, and there's evidence that people even in the Politburo or their relatives were practicing in 99. And actually, a lot of people advised Jiang Zemin back in the day, do not do this. These are decent people.